Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Let's get into it. Today, I want to talk about your reputation and what it takes to build your reputation and how quickly that reputation can fall apart with one dumb or bad mistake. What got me thinking about this topic? A couple of things that Morgan Housel, author of Psychology of Money, and recently wrote the book Same as Ever. In his book, he's got a couple different places within his book where he talks about reputation and success and what it takes to get there. And then he describes how quickly that could come crumbling down. He's got a great quote that I've been thinking about that relates to this subject. Not exactly, not entirely, but it relates in some ways to what we're about to discuss here today. Morgan says, good news comes from compounding, which always takes time. But bad news comes from a loss in confidence or a catastrophic error that can occur in a blink of an eye. Now, he's talking about good news and bad news. He's talking about what we would call long-term miracles versus overnight tragedies. A little bit different a conversation than what we're about to have, but a good reputation, a great reputation, comes from compounding, stacking good behavior in wins and trustworthiness and dependability, stacking those things over the course of time, significant time, oftentimes years, if not decades. That's where a great reputation comes from. But that great reputation can come completely crashing down with one catastrophic error. So you spend decades building up a reputation and you make one dumb mistake and it can be costly. And I share this with you today. It's actually on my mind quite a bit. Not because I'm necessarily doing anything wrong or putting myself in jeopardy in any sort of way, but I am very sensitive to how quickly things can fall apart if you put yourself in the wrong position or associate with the wrong people or say the wrong thing or behave the wrong way. Like one lapse in judgment and everything that you've spent a career building is called to question. Now, I don't think we have to look very far throughout, American society to find a boatload of examples. Some that come to mind for me. Lance Armstrong. The guy won 7 consecutive Tour de France titles. He founded the Live Strong Foundation. He's raised millions of dollars for cancer. He was one of the greatest athletes to ever, not just participate in a sport, but ever compete in any sport. And he was at the top of the world, except his reputation crashed when he admitted to doping throughout his career. It led him to be stripped from his titles and his sponsorship deals. And while he has since kind of rebounded, he will never, ever get back to the level he once was. He spent a decade plus building that reputation, and it took a news cycle or two before that reputation was destroyed. Bill Cosby. I don't think we have to go into too great a detail here. Guy was known as America's dad for his role on his television show. He had a stellar reputation for decades. But then there were allegations and trials against the guy that tarnished his image and led to his conviction on multiple counts of sexual assault. Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers, if not the greatest golfer in history, top of the world, reputation took a massive hit because of the scandals he was involved in. Martha Stewart, Kevin Spacey. The list goes on and on and on. How about companies? How about Enron, a very famous example? Literally considered one of America's most innovative companies. Enron collapsed in 2001 after an amazing run, collapsed in 2001 due to accounting fraud and due to corporate misconduct. This one actually is near and dear to me because while I was not involved with Enron, I was involved in the accounting industry at the time. And one of the big 5 accounting firms at the time, Arthur Andersen, they were Enron's auditors. Well, that company, because of what Enron had done, that company being the auditor for Enron also crumbled. Volkswagen, another one, ironically, I'm very distantly attached to. Volkswagen, the German automaker, was known for its amazing engineering and its reputation for quality vehicles. But then in 2015 or 2016, it was revealed that VW had installed an illegal software to its diesel vehicles to cheat on emissions. Now, how was I tied to that? I had a Volkswagen-made vehicle in 2015 that the dealership ended up buying back from me at the price I paid because it was a diesel and it actually had this illegal software on it. VW, one of the biggest companies, one of the best companies, almost collapsed the German economy. It was such a big failure and scandal. British Petroleum, BP. They were one of the world's largest oil and gas companies, and they were known, believe it or not, for their environmental initiatives. And then in 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill occurred, resulting in the largest marine oil spill in history. That catastrophe just destroyed BP's reputation, as it should. It led to billions of dollars in cleanup costs and legal settlements and long-term damage to the company's image. Last one that comes to mind for me, Wells Fargo. I mean, one of the most reputable banks in the U.S. And in 2016, it was revealed that employees had opened millions of unauthorized accounts to meet the sales targets that were being set. So that scandal created outrage. And Wells Fargo, while they have since battled back, they had spent 100 years building a reputation and had one, major scandal, big screw up, kill the bank and its earnings and its reputation and loss of trust in its leadership and its corporate culture. The list goes on and on and on. So these companies, they had long-standing positive reputations, but suffered significant damage due to boneheaded decisions, unethical behavior, disasters. And these repercussions, really kind of extend beyond financial loss. They impacted shareholders, employees, communities. It takes decades to build a reputation, and it takes minutes to screw that all up. So I'm trying to get you to think about this today. Why? Well, because so many of our listeners here at the No Days Off podcast, those that are part of the No Days Off Nation, you have built or are currently building amazing reputations and amazing businesses. You work your ass off day in and day out to have this positive reputation. We trade on reputation. To be known as an ethical and savvy, business person or woman, to be liked, to be looked up to be honored. We work so aggressively for years, decades to get there. I just want you to be a bit more sensitive to the things that could happen just being in the wrong place at the wrong time that end up jeopardizing all that you've done. If it sounds like I'm being a little over the top with this, I'm okay with that. If it sounds like I'm sensitive to this and it would never happen to you, I don't know. I've seen a lot of great people. I know a lot of great people that I love that just screwed up one day. And many of them have battled back, and others, things never look quite the same. So I just want you all thinking about it. This is not meant to be a negative message. I just think it's my responsibility to get you thinking about things that you otherwise would not be thinking about. And maybe today there's somebody listening that has to check maybe some of the decisions they're making, check some of their behavior, recognize that you're risking way too much for as hard as you've worked to get to where you're at today. That's all we have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.